Hello, everybody. Let's hope that this goes better than it did last night. Last night, we got about 45 minutes of the way through this presentation. And then the tech issues were just too much to bear. The whole time I've been glitching. There's two theories. It was very windy here where I live last night, so it could have been that, but also this scheduling software that I'm using, or the streaming software that I'm using, was also having glitches with Facebook, but the glitches are also happening on YouTube too. So it's still a little bit unknown what was causing the issues, and I'm really hoping that it doesn't impact on our time together today. Now, I made no announcement that I was coming live today. So look, if anyone does end up joining me live, that's a bonus, but I will just be sending around the replay link to this later on tonight. Now, also, I have created a workbook for you. This is very much a workshop or it's a workshop. So please open up that document that I've posted inside the Facebook group. It's a PDF, and you can write down your thoughts and reflections and decisions and planning as we go along, or you can print it off later and write it in, or you can just type it on your phone. Find some way of recording your thoughts and recording your decisions from this session, because what we take from this session will be applied in tomorrow night's training on bringing it all together and making it happen for your family. I really hope that you've been enjoying this training series. Monday night was our first one, and that was the most hotly requested subject, which was I just need help with kid-friendly meal ideas. I need meals that I can have on rotation, ones that my kids will like. And I really didn't want to go there because I would never have gone there, because I just think everyone's so individual in terms of taste preferences, fussy eating, all the rest. But I went there because there were so many of you that asked for it. And there's a recipe ebook coming your way, likely tomorrow, to accompany that. But tonight was interesting. Well, not tonight, but this session was very telling, I think, because even though by far more people requested ideas and recipes for meal ideas that are kid-friendly, but way more people registered for this event, which is all about reclaiming us. Because I've been hearing from women left, right, and center how depleted they're feeling, how maxed out they're feeling, just how bottom of the list they're feeling. And so I think that this topic, being one that I can completely relate to myself, you'll hear later on what a big journey that I've been on in terms of reaching that depletion stage and staying there for a full decade, and then in recent years pulling myself gradually up from that place. And so I want to share with you the stuff that I feel really moved me to a place of actually being willing to address it, but then us actually taking the steps needed to address it. So look, I can see a couple of people have joined me live. I didn't announce it. I know that you may be kind of doing something while you're listening. But look, if you're here, please say hello in the comments. I've just pulled the comment box open so that I can see. Let me know where you are in terms of whether you're feeling depleted, out of balance, burnt out, fatigued, maxed out, compassion fatigue, whatever it is. Let me know where you're at with it. Last night, it was comforting to see that I was amongst friends. There were lots of people who were just feeling the feels last night. So if that's, I'd love to know where you are in that regard. Okay, so we are going to get into it because I have to leave here in under 1 hour to get my children for an appointment. So that is one way to actually make sure that I finish on time. So here we go. Okay, this session is all about you, of course, and this was a real quote that came through when people were sending me, the ideas of what they wanted me to talk about this week when I offered this free training series. When people sent through their comments, sorry, I've just had something pop up on my screen. I've got to get rid of that. There we go. When people sent through what they wanted to talk about, this was a real quote that came through. I am so worn out that I can't look after myself, let alone my family. I think I have been there, and I think that a lot of you will have been here too. That's kind of the place that we're starting this training on. And if you are not there, I love that you are still here, that you are still showing up to learn the preventative methods to making sure that you don't end up in burnout like I did and like so many women did or do. So I believe that in this stage of life that we're in, because I'm assuming that you're all adulting and that you probably all may have kids at home. The majority of the women who show up to these things have got kids, and if you don't, welcome. I will be referencing kids a lot tonight, but that's okay. You just go with whatever you can take from this. But in this stage of life that we're in, it's definitely time to captain the ship, so to speak, because to lead well, we really do need to feel well, or it's a lot easier to anyway when we're feeling well. But besides that, I feel like that is it's a draw card that helps women to actually start to prioritize their health, but really it's not the number one. It's just that you are worthy enough in your own right as a person, as a human being, as a woman here on this planet. You are worthy enough to care for yourself enough to thrive. It's just as simple as that. I know it's easier to do this when we've got people to care for because we want to be better for them. And yes, it is true that we will lead better when we're feeling better. But just remember that this is actually for you. Like, you are worthy of this. You don't need other people to actually prioritize yourself. For the longest time, I sold myself a lie that I could just push through on adrenaline most of my waking moments. I believed that I could just handle it, and that the main thing was just to get stuff done and tick off my list. I'm a huge list maker and list ticker, and I just wanted to keep accomplishing the things that I know that I'm capable of doing. And I would turn up for everyone else, everything else, and I didn't even realize that I wasn't valuing myself in the process. And it turns out that the outcomes of living that way are woeful. Like, who knew, right? It's such a basic thing that I should have seen, but I didn't. You have a family to lead, and we all know that it's harder to do that when you're chronically stressed, when you're under-rested, fatigued, burdened by toxins, or undernourished. There are so many factors that come into play. Hi, Lee. Lee says she's up and down as she wears out easily. I really think for me, it's stress from the overwhelm of wanting to do more than I am, but feel like I'm not getting anywhere. Oh, Lee, that's I want to say it's a universal feeling, but I guess it's, maybe not everyone feels that, but I certainly feel that. I understand where you're coming from. And I hope that this exact training that we're working through today is really going to help you address where that's coming from for you. So stick with us. I know that you may not, you didn't carve out this time ready to join us for the whole session because I know I didn't announce this. But if you've got time to finish it now with me, great. If not, make sure you come back to it later and work through the worksheet and answer the questions we're asking ourselves today, because I really think that you would benefit from this just like I have. So it's a lesson that, like, most of us are super resistant to learning this lesson, to acknowledging that it's important in our own life, let alone prioritizing doing the things that will actually do anything substantial about changing things for us. And I think that I've said this before and I'll say it again, I think I'm probably one of the world's slowest learners when it comes to this topic and actually taking the actions that I always knew I needed to take, but actually taking those actions to improve my life. Slowest ever. Nutrition, though, really has always been a priority for me. And I'm convinced, absolutely convinced, that I coped way better in my epic 10-year survival mode. Yes, 10 years. I coped way better during that time because of my nourishment consistently. But I relied on that and not a whole lot else to see me through for a really long time. 10 years is a really long time. And what I've learned is that stress, it really is a beast. It will not bow to nutrition. It will have its way with you one way or the other. And as I now like to say, you can't eat your way out of a stressful lifestyle. I had zero appreciation for that. And so now, after this journey, my body certainly has given me an appreciation for that now. And I do say that with genuine gratitude and respect for the process that it really has taken me through. Suzanne's joining in from Central Victoria, listening again as it was freezing last night, wasn't it, Suzanne? So far, so good. Let me know if it starts to freeze again. So if you are feeling burnt out, frazzled around the edges, let me take a guess at a scenario that might be playing out in your life. We think we're invincible, that it makes sense for other people to rest, but not us. We can't rest. Nobody else understands the demands you face. There's way too much for you to do. And plus, you'll be okay anyway. You can just keep pushing through. And so you do. And then when you fall in a heap, as you will, or when you lose your marbles or feel empty and resentful or frozen and fatigued, you might have this flash of sanity and think, yes, I should be looking after myself. That's what I need to do. I need to get more sleep. I need to nourish myself. I need to drink more water. I need to breathe more deeply or express myself, move my body. The basics, oxygen, sleep, real food, movement, sunshine. I think we really overcomplicate things, don't we? And then at that moment, the thoughts seem so clear and decisive, but in a couple of weeks, we're back to our old ways and we end up learning the same lesson time and time and time again, only we're not actually really learning it. We're actually just suffering through it ever so slowly and painfully, gaining more realization each time that a trigger happens and we kind of crash and feel remorse for how we might have spoken to someone because we were so tired or whatever it might have been. And then every time that happens, we realize just that little bit more that, this might actually be something worthy of addressing in my life and prioritizing. And even though we know some of the outcomes, like even for me, I had my hormone test was like the results I could see in black and white on the screen. And I still had trouble prioritizing doing what it would take to down-regulate my nervous system, to train my body to live mostly in that parasympathetic rest and digest state. Adrenaline had become my very comfortable, familiar friend. So, in case you didn't realize, I did just describe myself in that process, and I would be interested to know if I actually described you too. So if that resonates with you, I'd really like to know. I'd really love to know. I know that most people will be watching the replay. So even if you're watching the replay, please let me know in the comments. Does that experience of life resonate with you? Is that something that you can relate to? And if not, if I'm off the mark for you, what does burnout and frazzled and imbalanced, what does it look like for you? How does it manifest in your life? And how does that process of actually making a decision to change something about it work for you? I guarantee that by sharing in the comments what it's like for you will absolutely help someone else that's going to be watching this training. The thing that really gets to us mums is not usually the impact on us. It's usually the impact of our burnout or depletion, whatever you want to call it, on the people we love, right? I know all too well the version of me that snaps into witch mum mode when the kids are bickering amongst themselves or fighting over the front seat of the car or whatever it is. Their fighting is the thing that usually triggers me, or that did usually trigger me. And that version of, sometimes still does, let's be honest, but that version of me used to be fairly present in my family's life. And I don't really like her, but I can now see her for what she is. She is the result of me not giving myself what I need to flourish on a regular basis. And because we as parents are in this position of enormous influence on our children's lives, the family all suffer because of it, because we're not giving ourselves what we need to flourish. And that can be a really heavy feeling as a parent. I'm certainly not mentioning it here to give you any more guilt or shame or anything about it, because this is just the reality of life. And I think it is true for every parent out there. We all can relate to that. None of us are perfect parents. So tonight's training is designed to help you feel seen, to give you a bit of a 101 on how your thoughts actually turn into stress and what that does biochemically in your body. And it's also going to give you the tools to see yourself and identify a path forward. That's where we want to land at the end, is having this really clear, empowered path forward. And then on Friday, tomorrow night, we're actually then going to put it all together. Monday night's training about, what we can do for the family. And then also today's training on what we can do for ourselves. Tomorrow night, we're going to bring it together in a way that makes sense, in a way that is, actionable and manageable for you and your family. A lot of people asked me for a week in the life of my family. Like, how do I juggle all the things with 5 kids and work and managing the home and the meals and the extracurricular activities? Lots of people just wanted to know that. And so I'm actually going to share with you my real personal sort of schedule for the week and give you a template, because I'm not about adding extra rules and rigid structures around things. I used to be like that, but now I'm really not. It's more about creating space in your life for the things that matter most and making sure that they get a place in your life. And there's a rhythm to it. I'm certainly not perfect at following my schedule, but having a plan that can move and shift as things happen. And I don't think there's been a week yet where I've kind of ticked it all off the list perfectly, but there's a rhythm there that allows for the most important things to happen first. And you know what? Gosh, it's when you put the most important things first in your life consistently, day to day, I am always amazed at what changes, how life feels different. It feels like palpably different. And it's actually illogical to me. It's irrational to me how much extra time is created when we're putting the first things first. And we're not just chasing after what's urgent and the pressurized things that we chase. I just don't understand it, but it works. So that's what you've got to look forward to. Someone has said here, and I'm sorry that I don't know your name. The streaming software hasn't given it to me, but you've said, I own 2 teenage girls. I think it might be a typo. She has 2 teenage girls. Being burnt out doesn't help me deal well with my girls. I have to work really hard to allow myself. It's okay to just sit and read a book, yes, listen to a podcast, etc., for me to be a better mum. Absolutely. And look, I've got so much to say about our nervous system as parents. Gosh, we'll get to that. I think that the process of talking through what we're going to talk through today is actually going to help bring some light and some clarity and some extra oomph behind what it takes to actually take ourselves from a place of an overloaded sympathetic state of fight or flight or freeze or fawn. Like when we are just maxed out, we are overloaded because our nervous system has had too much input for the day. Having the skills to actually regulate, which doesn't always just mean calm down. Regulate's quite different. Regulate just means having the flexibility to feel the stress and to feel the anxiety or the anger or the whatever, and then ground right back down again quickly, like a toddler does. But we adults tend to hold on and not express ourselves, and therefore it becomes congested and it maxes out and we're not able to bring more on. And so if we can learn, which something that I've just been opening my eyes to in recent times is breath work, for its ability to help us move through and to process the overloaded feelings and the emotions so that we are then able to be grounded and open and curious and available to our children when they need us, because our nervous systems are just so interrelated and reliant on each other. It's mind-blowing. It's incredible. But however, not the topic of our conversation directly tonight, but we are going to dance around that topic a bit tonight. Oh, Suzanne sent the last message about having 2 teenage girls. Yes. And yeah, it's good to listen when they're not here. I know. Okay, so if I had enough time today to go into my own story of my survival mode and neglect of myself of that 10-year period, I'm sure that it really would make you feel a whole lot better about yourself wherever you're at. But we're trying to squish a lot into this training tonight. This training is all, it's kind of a squished, condensed version of what I've been doing inside the No Fuss Nourished method, my coaching membership. It's where we go into all this stuff with you on a regular weekly basis. We talk about, just one thing a week, how to nourish your family in a no fuss way, how to help yourself as a mother in a no fuss way. And the doors will actually be open next week once we've finished our free training series. I haven't done that properly since we opened more than a year ago. I'm not quite sure when I'll do it again, but it'll be open. It'll be open for a few days. So just look out for a message from me if doing more of this is something that you feel ready for and something that you feel like you're craving in your life. So this training tonight, or today, I should say, I feel like I'm still on last night when we tried to do it and the tech failed. So in this training, don't be afraid to get real and raw in the comments, and I'll be doing the same. It's a little bit revealing for me. I get a little bit nervous because it is quite revealing. Today is a very personal topic, and I will be giving my own examples of my own life. And again, I would probably tell you more embarrassing stories about myself, about when burnout gets the better of me and my interactions with my kids if we had time. But I always have to catch myself when I say embarrassing because, like I said before, none of us are perfect. I want to stop pretending. I think we all need to stop pretending that we're perfect. We don't have to be afraid of being imperfect. And I do try my best to just show up as I am. And so I will be doing that today. So you can let it all hang out in the comments. Everyone is here for a reason. And I promise we are all going to be able to relate to whatever you say in the comments. So today we are going to cover how your thoughts turn into stress and what that does inside your body. Then we're going to self-identify which of your body systems is being affected by your state of wellness or burnout or dis-ease, and help you identify which area needs your prioritized care. Then this is the best bit, we're going to identify that path forward for you. You will need a pen and paper. Like, we are going to get quite reflective and be making some choices about how you want life to look. So go and grab a pen and paper if you don't have it. Now, next week will actually be, will I go into this now? So, yeah, I think I've told you. Tomorrow night, we're going to bring it all together and let's just get into it. So firstly, this book, some of the things I've taken from today are from Dr. Libby's book. I love Dr. Libby. Her approach is holistic, scientific, compassionate. It's the full package. Her book, The Invisible Load, is very eye-opening about how stress impacts the body, but then also challenging us in the most gentle, loving way possible to show love to ourselves, to be compassionate, and also to look at our perception of stress and urgency. And gosh, it's just a great book. So please do yourself a favor and grab that book. Also, The Rushing Women's Syndrome is another great one of hers, and I'm going to reference another one shortly. But this is helpful. This is information from her. So have you ever wondered how your body takes a thought and turns it into like a physical stress response in the body? Like, how does that actually work? How can we look at our to-do list or read an email from a boss or a coworker, and then in an instant, We feel our heart racing and our breath catch in the chest. We might feel a bit tight. It all starts in the brain, the hypothalamus, actually. So thinking back to high school biology, the hypothalamus is that really small part of the brain that connects our nervous system to the endocrine or the hormonal system. So our brain connects to our hormone system through this little part of the brain. And one of the tasks of that part of the brain is to assess our safety at all times. Essentially, it just repeats the question 24/7, am I safe? And it assesses you biochemically, like how much adrenaline do you have pumping through your veins right now? Emotionally, like if you've just had a passing comment from your partner that makes you think that they're annoyed at you, which caused you to feel this emotional lack of safety within your relationship or what they think of you, or perhaps a work colleague or a boss. It assesses you nutritionally, like are you missing nutrients? That means famine to the body, not that you've got this plentiful supply of veggies in the fridge and you're choosing not to eat them because you're just doing the quick toast. It just thinks that you're starving. Now, if the answer to your question from the hypothalamus of am I safe is no, then it starts this game of Chinese whispers inside of your body that is like dominoes being set off one after the other inside of your body. So the hypothalamus, I might actually, just for this bit, I'm going to make this bigger and me smaller. Is that better? So the hypothalamus sends a message to the pituitary gland that you're not safe. Then the pituitary gland communicates that real or perceived lack of safety information to all of the other glands in the hormonal system, the thyroid, the adrenals, the ovaries. And that leads the adrenals to create stress hormones. Now, stress hormones are real things. They're not just a feeling or something that doesn't have a physical structure to it. Like they are real compounds and chemicals that flood your body. So what do they actually do? That is a great question. We have two main stress hormones. And this is going to be a little bit of stress hormone 101 because we really do need to understand this to then apply it to the next stage. So bear with me and I'll try to make it as quick as I can. So adrenaline is usually made in acute states like a balloon popping or a car pulling out in front of you, or you're rushing because you're late to a meeting. Cortisol is made when we've been making adrenaline for a long time. We've had long-term stress. So we've still got that high adrenaline, and now we've got cortisol coming to meet it because it's this chronic state. But stress hormones, they're not all bad. Like they really are there to help us. Everything that happens inside of our body, like our body has our back, as Dr. Libby says. Like it really wants to help us. It's trying to give us messages and trying to help us survive. So we've got this high adrenaline and now we've got high cortisol. Historically, adrenaline was only produced when our life was in danger. And it's ironic today that it's this constant and relentless production of adrenaline that's burdening the body rather than fostering relief, as adrenaline is designed to do. So when your body makes adrenaline, it does 5 things for your body. The first is that it increases blood pressure and your heart rate. That helps pump oxygen and nutrients to your arms and your legs to help you escape. Your body doesn't know that you might just be sitting in your car having read a text message from a loved one and that, it just requires you to have a confronting conversation. Your body doesn't know that. It just thinks you need to run. It enlarges the pupils of the eye, which allows more light to enter so you can see in darker situations. That basically just helps you survive and run away from threats. It mobilizes glucose into the blood to give you that fast burning fuel to help you escape. And that can affect us being able to use body fat as a fuel well. And it's just taking fuel from our liver and our muscles and not our body fat instead. So that can lead us to crave sugar, to top up that glucose fuel tank. So basically, It helps us hold on to fat and gives us sugar cravings. Number 4, it diverts blood away from digestion to our legs and our arms to run, because digesting our food is just not a priority when our life's in danger. And so as a result, we get bloating, we get constipation, all these digestive issues. And lastly, it can help you, well, it does help you stay alert. But when we've got so much of it in our system, as I had for 10 years, we become over alert. We become snappy at our beautiful but noisy children, and then we later regret it, and we judge ourselves harshly for how we speak to them, and we dislike ourselves for who we've become, and all response to this excessive and relentless production of stress hormones. This alertness can cause us to feel anxious, overreact, have that regret and guilt and that shame spiral. I know those feelings. Can you guys relate to those feelings? Now, real quick, if those things just happened, I don't know, say 10 times a year, of course the body would handle it. But the way that most of us are living means that we're just super regularly in that state. And so when we're always living with that elevated adrenaline, which, gosh, you guys, I forgot what it felt like to live without adrenaline. When I had my first day without adrenaline pumping through my veins, I felt it. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is how other people live. But actually, no, not everyone lives like that, but we can. And it's just the most beautiful difference. But it puts us at risk for these longer term consequences that you can see listed on the screen. Lots of diseases, chronic disease, body fat, IBS, bloating, relationship challenges, sleep issues. Regular or longer term elevated adrenaline is not a pretty picture. And I can definitely speak from experience. But what about cortisol? So cortisol does us a lot of favors when it's made in the right amount. But when we have too much or too little, that's when this cascade of events that we don't want to happen happens, and it really can wreak havoc with your health. And I'll share what happened to me shortly. And here's the thing. Most cells of your body have cortisol receptors. And so cortisol's actions are felt widespread throughout the entire body. And remember that cortisol is made in response to long-term stress, which unfortunately is the case for most people today. And so historically, the time that we felt cortisol was basically just in times of flood, famine, or war, and when it meant food scarcity. But these days, we feel cortisol because our relationships might be stressed, our finances, our health, a loved one, or basically anything else, like perpetually running late, worrying about what people think of us, or like a gazillion other things. But just as before, our body doesn't know the difference. And so to the body, long-term stress equals food scarcity, equals famine, equals danger to life. And so therefore, it has a significant impact on our metabolism and whether the body gets message to store fat or to burn it. And so for me, I put on close to 20, well, it was around 20 kilos of extra weight, even though I didn't change what I was eating. I didn't change I kind of changed my exercise, but then when I got back into exercise, nothing budged. And so that's an indication that stress is probably to play, particularly around the abdomen. So the idea with cortisol is that you want to have this Goldilocks level of cortisol running through your body. Not too much, not too little. And there's a few different symptoms that you can now have a look at on the next screen as to whether your body's making too much or too little. And I want you to have a think about this. Have a look at this and tell me where you think you're sitting, whether you're in the Goldilocks zone because you're not seeing these symptoms play out in your life, or whether you've got excess or not enough. So in excess, when we've got too much stress, long-term stress in our life, it actually eats away at our muscle. It's catabolic. It breaks down that muscle. We become quite weak. We lose our tone. It slows the metabolism and turns it and holds on to fat. It disrupts the regulation of cholesterol, elevates blood glucose, affects your sleep, your memory. Your gut health is a huge one. Stress is very closely tied with gut permeability or leaky gut, which can cause digestive issues like bloating, etc., etc. IBS. It can cause what's the word I'm looking for? SIBO. And it can decrease libido. And then when cortisol's too low, because your body's been making so much of it for so long and your adrenals get tired and quit, as happened to me, then that's when we start feeling chronic deep fatigue, sore joints, especially when you wake in the morning, inflammation, infections, low immunity, other hormonal issues like thyroid issues. For me, the effect of stress in my life was significant. And I knew that because I had cleared up my diet, like I had nice organic pesticide-free food coming in, nutrient dense. I'd cleaned up my house cleaning products, my body products. I'd kind of eliminated, like I turned off the Wi-Fi at night. I'd done kind of a lot of the things that can contribute to these health concerns that I was facing. The only explanation for me that I was facing all this stuff that I'm about to tell you was stress. I had a wicked hormonal imbalance. My estrogen levels were crazy through the roof. In fact, the naturopath, when she saw the test results, she was like, "Lady, does random rage mean anything to you?" And I'm like, no. My estrogen hormone responsible for random rage was off the chart. There was no measurement for it. Like I had a wicked hormonal imbalance. Adrenal fatigue, my adrenals were crashed out. So my cortisol that we just spoke about was bottomed out. And she was like, "My gosh, you must have been in this stage for a long time." I'm like, "Yeah, it's been a long time." My immune system sucked. I was getting sick. Like I would go to the gym. This is when I was trying to exercise again. I'd go to the gym for 2 weeks. I'd get sick for 2 weeks. Go to the gym for 2 weeks, get sick for 2 weeks. And it was so frustrating. I began to bloat so regularly and so badly that people would regularly ask me, "When's the baby due, Lainey? You're having another baby?" And I'm like, "No, I am not." And like I said before, I put on about 20 kilos. So stress can really have its way with you, like I said. So it took me years of inaction, even after I saw all those test results, for me to start doing what I needed to do to overcome this. And it's like I just felt it would go away on its own accord over time. But of course, it didn't. And on a personal note, I think the thing that changed things for me was enough pain points of regret in the way that I interacted with those I love to finally get me to commit to following through with a bit of a plan. That's what it took for me. And like I wish it wasn't that. I wish that I could just see it. Oh, I want to be well. I'll do what it takes to be well. But no, it took me years of snapping and years of being the witch mum on occasion. Like it wasn't all the time, of course, but easily triggered for that to happen. Suzanne here, she said a little too much cortisol. Lee said too much for her too. Lee's got the random rage going on. Danielle's got both sides going on. Yes, okay. All right. So the thing is that the way out of this, it's not like it's unenjoyable. The path forward out of stress and overwhelm and burnout and cortisol and all of that, it's actually really enjoyable things like taking some minutes to ourselves to breathe and taking a walk in the sunshine, sleeping. Like they're enjoyable activities. And so what makes me think that the reason that we resist this so much is because we self-sacrifice. And there's some limiting self-beliefs around that for me, which I'll share soon. And I think that it's probably going to be quite a common theme for those of us who are in that space, because we're not doing the things that are enjoyable that help us feel well, because we're self-sacrificing to all the other things and all the other people in our life. So I had to actually step out of the mentality that I was trapped, that there was no way out of the stress that I lived with, that no one else understood or shared the same level of stress as me. I had to learn how to reframe things, how to question things, how to consider my own perceptions of the things that cause me stress. That was the biggest, sorry, not the biggest game changer, but one of the biggest game changers. We are the ones responsible for our own happiness. When we stay in martyrdom or victimhood, we're kind of waiting for someone else to come and save us. But no one else is coming to save us. We are responsible for our own calm, our own peace, our own order in our life, our own health, mentally and physically. And it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, but it's a necessary one. It's something that we need to do on our own, for ourselves, and for those we love, because they have to live with us too. Yeah, I can see Danielle's feeling me. Okay, so here we go. Okay, I want to shift gears to this body systems check-in. Ooh, we are running out of time because I remember I have to leave to get my kids to an appointment very soon. So I will speed things up. So with Dr. Libby's assistance, we are going to do a check-in on your body systems to discover which one needs your support and therefore what's actually causing your body burnout, right? So this comes from her book. What's her book's name? I'll get back to you on that. It's gone from me. So there are 9 puzzle pieces, basically. And I'm just going to come back here for a second. It's been with a lot of great interest that I've now been seeing the different systems in my body and how they've been affecting long-term stress. And as Dr. Libby says, the way out is the way in. If the cause of my dis-ease in my body is stress, which after investigation, like I said, it definitely is, then de-stressing is the only way out. So let's just take an example. Let's just say that stress has eventually caused some thyroid issues for you, which is completely a common regular occurrence, right? Thyroid issues can also alternatively be caused by nutritional deficiencies, by a lack of selenium and a couple of other things. And so iodine. So a lot of people will say, oh, okay, I've been diagnosed with a thyroid issue. I need to now dose up on iodine. I need to dose up on selenium. But if the reason that your thyroid is sluggish is because of stress, no amount of nutritional supplements is going to fix that thyroid. The way out is the way in. So stress is the thing. You need to identify like what has caused this particular body system to crash, and therefore that's the way out. So having that clarity can actually help you prioritize to make some adjustments and positive shifts in the correct direction for your life. The book has come to me. It's called Accidentally Overweight, the 9 elements that will help solve your weight loss puzzle. And of course, as the title implies, it is directed at women who want to lose weight. However, I feel like the book is mistitled because the contents of that book just gives you the best insight into how your body works holistically, and I absolutely love it and highly recommend it for anybody. So each of these 9 checklists are going to help you identify if that particular puzzle piece is relevant for you, and if that resonates strongly, it needs attention. So what we're going to do is in the workbook that I've given you, which is now, it's posted inside the Facebook group. It's the most recent post. There are the 9 puzzle pieces and all of the different types of symptoms, or some of the different types of symptoms that relate to that puzzle piece or that body system. What you're going to do is go through and tick and flick which ones relate to you. That's going to give you, a greater awareness of what's happening for you and all the different body systems. But also it's going to help you score yourself on each of these body systems. I've given you a wheel just like this in the workbook. So once you've scored yourself on each of those different body systems, I want you to come and color in this wheel. You can see in the middle, it says number 1, and on the outside is number 10 with all of the different puzzle pieces there. So if, let's just say you scored a 3 on stress hormones, you're only going to color that little triangle in just a little bit. I'm sure you get the point. So when you've got your wheel, you can quite easily see that if it was a real wheel in life, it wouldn't be able to turn and it would get stuck in one or more areas. And that's just going to give you lots of clarity on how to move forward. Okay, so changing gears again, because that's something that you need to do on your own time. We all have a story. A lot of us tend to normalize the stresses or the stressors that we face and that we carry day to day. And over time, we take on more and more, or we've been given more and more to carry. I'll just bring myself back here. And as that happens, our capacity to carry grows, right? Like, you know, you have one child and it's a big deal, and you have a second child and it's suddenly like, oh, 1 was so easy. 3 goes on and on. Your capacity grows as your demands grow. But it comes to a point where it's just not humanly possible to take on more without being crushed. I'm a huge believer in that we are always doing the best we can with what we have available to us. And so if our nervous system is so maxed out and we're reacting in immature, poor ways in our mind to the people we love, that's actually us doing the best we can with what we have available to us. We don't have a fully functioning nervous system available to us. If our hormones are all out of whack and we're, you know, becoming a witch mum, we're doing the best with what we have available to us. We need to have a little bit of heart and compassion to ourselves about this. What you're carrying, it's actually a lot. And I still remember sitting in marriage counseling, and the counselor validated this enormous load that Jordan and I had been so accustomed to carrying. We had 5 kids, we had 2 businesses, we had massive stress from this undiagnosed brain condition that a couple of our kids had that exploded stress levels in our home on a daily basis. We had financial stress. We had the obvious tension that was present in parts of our relationship because of lack of communication, resulting in hurt for both of us that, you know, that we would just press on without resolving. Like live. And I bet you can relate to some of that, and then add some of your stuff on top as well. Our modern lifestyle alone is just a lot. Our bodies are fighting off this incessant attacks from chemicals and EMFs and all the rest in our environment. And it's incredibly freeing to see, to feel, and acknowledge that you actually are carrying a heck of a lot. And you've been doing amazing. You really have. And you are literally doing the best you can with what you have available to you at the time. Sorry. And I bet that you're actually doing far better than you think you are. We're often our biggest critics. So in the download that you have, or just jot them down on a piece of paper, I want you to list the stressors in your life. Just go to town, do a massive brain dump, and then validate yourself for all that you are carrying for so long. Thanks, Danielle. All right. We are shifting gears, and we're going to have to, this is my favorite bit, and we have to skip through it quickly because I have to go to school pickup early for this appointment. Okay, Philly Bullitt is a good friend of mine. I interviewed her recently inside our Facebook group. She's a functional medicine practitioner who takes a very different approach when it comes to ending body burnout. She believes that it's actually a lot of our self-limiting beliefs and the way our thoughts and our unprocessed emotions that actually cause this body burnout in the first place. And sometimes it takes doing that type of work to actually recover from body burnout. So she works with people to help move through that process. And she actually has released a book just this month, just now. I'm going to put the link in the Facebook group, and it's already in the download workbook. And she's giving out these amazing bonuses with it too. So go and grab that if that appeals to you. We're actually going to do a little chapter from her book called The Empowered Mind, or you might like to just call it A Path Forward. This is what's going to help you to create a plan for yourself, but actually not just a plan like, oh, okay, now I'm going to decide to fix myself and I'm going to do X, Y, Z, they're done. No. That is probably destined to failure if you're in the depths of this state that we've been talking about. We actually have to do a little bit of thought process. We have to empower ourselves. We need to kind of heal a little part of our mind that throws us off sometimes. So we're going to go through a bit of a process now. I will likely not give much commentary because I do have to go, but there's all of it is inside your workbook. Now, inside your workbook, there's also some examples of disempowering beliefs about yourself that show up in various ways. And so the way that those disempowering beliefs about yourself show up in life, there's a list of them there. And I want you to have a look at them and see if any of them relate to you. For me, not for me, but for a lot of people I hear from, giving up on your health goals too early or struggling to implement a plan, which was more me, that often stems from not believing that you're worthy enough of it. Something to think about. But there's other examples in there too. Okay, so that we're going to ask ourselves a series of questions here. Thank you, Suzanne. We are too hard on ourselves. Questions from here. Number one, there's 4 of them, I believe. Where am I now? Now, we've spoken a little bit about that. What symptoms or health issues do you have that you don't want? You know, we've done, once you go through and do the puzzle piece, the body systems check-in with Dr. Libby, that's going to help you basically map this out. But for me, like I've told you about, I had all those symptoms. But the next thing that you need to ask yourself is like, how are these health issues actually impacting your life? What are they costing you in your relationships, your finances, your business or career, your happiness? What would be the worst case scenario if you didn't address your body burnout? Could it lead to divorce? Could it lead to psychologically messing up your kids, to losing your business or quitting your job, to not being able to pay the mortgage, to living a sick and soulless life forever, not tapping into your true potential? What unhealthy behaviors or thought patterns are derailing you? Like, when it's all well and good to say, well, where am I? But ask those deeper questions. And in the workbook, it's actually going to give you lots of prompters. Now, I had planned to actually share with you my own personal answers to a lot of these questions, but I actually need to leave. So rather than come back and do a whole nother training and have it disjointed in 2 different videos, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to breeze through these questions on screen, and then I'm going to just direct you to that workbook where you can see the prompting questions and you can answer these questions for yourself. I'm doing this a dedicated Empowered Mind training inside the No Fuss family membership this week, where I will go into greater depth of my own answers to each of these questions, just to give you examples, to give you context and get you thinking about your life as well. So if this type of stuff, and actually Philly herself is coming in to do a guest expert spot on identifying self-limiting self-beliefs the week after as well. So there's lots of good stuff happening. So let me scoot through these questions. The second one is, where do I want to go? It's time to dream about, like, what do you want life to look like? What do you dream for yourself? And gosh, there was a lot of fun stuff in there that I wanted to talk about. But number 3 is, how did I get here? Very important to identify. How will I get there? Was it Einstein that said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result? So how am I going to get there? Like, what am I going to do differently to get where I want to go? What is going to stop me? Now, this is where we have the if-then statements come. If this happens, then I will do that. And also habit stacking. It's much easier to create a new habit when you attach it to an existing habit. I've given you examples of both of those things in the workbook, so I'll keep going. Now, this is the closing quote that I wanted to stop on again by my woman crush, Dr. Libby. From this moment on, I want you to spend at least 5 minutes every day recognizing all that you contribute to this world just by being who you are. And let that recognition light a flame inside you that with every day grows stronger and brighter from the kindness you show yourself through your lifestyle choices and your thoughts. And may that light guide you home to the magnificence that you have always been. Love it. There's a lot of things that I do for myself. Actually, there's not even that many. There's like a handful of key things that I do on the regular that has helped me recover from burnout and also to just help me thriving and keep me well. So what I want to say is that instead of going into them today like I'd planned, I'm actually going to go into them tomorrow night when we pull it all together. You're going to get to see my schedule and see exactly all I do. I'm going to give you the recipes that I use. There's only a couple that are key to what we're talking about. So that is going to end our training for today. I think it's given you lots of tools to use to go ahead, maybe tonight or early tomorrow morning, wake up a bit earlier before the kids, if you can, and just spend a few minutes, half an hour if you can, working through those questions. Download that workbook. It will prompt you all the way through everything that we've spoken about today. You are so worthy of this positive change for your life. I know that you can do it when you're ready. It took me a long time to be ready. And I acknowledge that sometimes you're not ready. But I hope that our chat today has helped you consider more seriously whether you want to be ready now. Love you guys. Thank you for being here. Those who came live with no announcement that I was going live, you're awesome. For those watching the replay, I'm grateful for you. Thank you for being here and for yourself. Go ahead and make sure you do the workbook. There's no point turning up live or watching the replay if you don't do the workbook. Tomorrow night, your answers from your workbook will go into your template for your path forward. So make sure you do it. Okay, I've got to jet, pick up my kids. You're welcome, Danielle. You're welcome, Suzanne. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow night for training number 3, pulling it all together. Bye, guys.